ladies. Hello. How's everyone doing today? I think I was just unmuted. I think we were put on mute with all the chatting that was happening. I, our boss and master control put us on mute. What's going on, ladies? What is going on today?
Good.
Too much.
Look at Lacey J. Welcome in, Lacey J. Hey, Austin. Hey, Mo Franklin. Our usual suspects are coming in.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Drop your flags. Let's see where you're coming from. Let's see what countries you're tuning in from so we can hail you up.
Absolutely. Miss Colleen, you're looking like a doll today, I have to say. You just look amazing today.
Thank you so much. I feel good. So, I try to, just reflect the feeling sometimes with the clothes.
I love it. For those of you that are joining us, it's Diani, Landy, Colleen, and Victoria today. Hermie's taking the day off, but don't worry. We have a beautiful Caribbean boss babe who's going to be holding it down with us today on Top 5. If you're joining us, like and share. I want everybody to share our program and say, I share. And I see all the Grenadian flags coming in. I see the cow from Jamaica.
Yes.
All right.
Grenadian.
Here we go.
Let me say hi to my cousin, Nakai. Hi, Nakai. That's my cousin.
Here we go with the grenade.
We have a Canadian flag.
Hey.
Hello,
look at that beautiful flag back there. Like all my Grenadian masses. Hey.
Love it. Well, we're going to jump right into it. And as you come in, share, tag a friend, tell them to join us. It's Top 5 every Sunday from 5 to 6. Today, we have a great show lined up. I mean, we've had a phenomenal month. Won't you say, ladies? Didn't we have a great month?
Absolutely.
It has. It's been a good month.
It's been very exciting. A lot of really solid topics. And we've been really making sure that we represent for breast cancer and for domestic violence this month. Two very, very important key issues that, even though it's those months, it happens. Domestic violence happens every month of the year, and breast cancer can happen at any time. So we're doing our best to make sure that we're highlighting these really, really important issues on the Top 5.
On the Top 5. And you're absolutely right. We never choose when we're going to be hit by cancer or breast cancer for that matter. Neither do we choose, when anybody's going to experience domestic violence. So I'm proud of us for this month for highlighting those topics. Today's show, we're going to kind of cap it off. And today's show is as much about women as it's going to be about breast cancer and domestic violence. We just want to move the conversation down the road by empowering women, particularly Caribbean women. And we have with us, who's going to join us later after our first break, attorney Teresa John Pierre Coy, who is a Caribbean woman, owner of her own law practice and a breast cancer survivor, and a good friend of mine. And I thought it would be great to have her on just to kind of put the icing on the cake, to kind of tie up that little bundle of what we've done this month as far as breast cancer and domestic violence, and as it pertains to women, Caribbean women and our Caribbean folks, and all women, as a matter of fact. Ladies, what's going on in your world? I mean, what's going on in your world?
Oh my gosh. Parenting is happening in my world. You guys would not believe it's cold outside here in New Jersey. And I just took my bundles of joy to the zoo. It was amazing. Just being, having some sense of normalcy, being able to take them outside and run around and see things that they haven't seen in a long time. I'm not the one to stay home. I don't like to stay inside at all. So any opportunity I get, to bring them out for the fresh air and just to see people, in a regular setting, but still social distancing. And, keeping them safe. It was an amazing experience. I just love taking my boys out and, just enjoying nature and seeing the outsides and not being trapped inside all the time on a game and all this technology stuff. So it was really nice for me today. I really enjoyed it. And I rushed back to be with you guys.
and looking gorgeous while you rush back to be with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, this week has been interesting for me. So I was brave this week. So I watched a piece of the showdown between Trump and Biden this week.
You said you were brave?
I was brave because remember I told you guys I wasn't going to watch anything. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear because I'll get too angry. So my take on what happened this week is Trump was a little bit more controlled and a little bit more polite. I still don't think he did really well, but at least he was able to. I think it ended in a way that it wasn't like a showdown and it wasn't just like throwing cheap shots. So for that reason, at least it was able to hold my attention, because if it had really gotten really out of control and like name calling and just rudeness, I probably would have turned the TV off. So how do you guys think that went this week?
I think it was a debate. It was a hot mess, but it was a debate. All right. Remember the other one? What was happening in the other? At least it was a debate.
I saved myself from the torture, so I saved myself from the torture.
I think the funniest part of that debate was hilarious to me was when he was like, "Yeah, I take fully responsibility of the COVID, but I blamed on China."
Oh yeah,
right. I think we have to look at some of those memes that they're creating when China's like, yeah, COVID is in the White House. Yeah. You better be careful. I think he's not taking it seriously, like, because again, so many people have lost their lives to this when it could have just been prevented. Just encourage people. You are the leader of the free world. All you have to do is model wearing a mask and encourage people to wear their mask to save lives. And you're just here, just throwing words around. So I saved myself the torture. I'm not even watching it. Like I'm not.
And I saved myself the torture by voting early. I voted, so at least I was like, even if I watch, it's okay. I voted, and I'm encouraging all our Caribbean folks that are citizens. If we don't have green card, we can't vote. All of my Caribbean folks that are citizens, go out and exercise your right to vote. Do not sit this one out. This is not the election you want to sit out. Go early. I think New York started Saturday.
Florida started last week. Yeah. I think they started already.
How is New Jersey, Victoria? Sorry, Colleen. Sorry.
No, I say I still have to figure out where I have to go in Jersey.
Just put in your zip code, girl, and get it and go out there. They'll tell you where.
I'll be there.
It's not that hard. Usually, sometimes, Colleen, maybe it's going to be at one of the schools next to you. Most voting is at the school.
I'll check it out.
Check your area. Yeah. So I was going to say, like, with going on in my world is basically, I actually stumbled upon it was like a little like YouTube, but it was it's from a news anchor. She's from Dallas, Texas. And people were basically talking about her hairstyle, and some people loved it. Some people thought it was unprofessional. And I'm like, this hairstyle.
I love that hairstyle.
She is rocking.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah. And it's neat. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's so controversial all the time when it comes to Black hair. It's like, you cannot be yourself and just live life compared to our counterparts. Let's say, for example, for a white woman, like they could walk out with their natural regular hair and no one is going to say anything about it. But with us, like, for example, look at my hair. With us, it's always something, someone always has to talk about it and say, oh, it's not professional, or, oh, it should be done like this. Why does our hair always have to be the subject of the matter? I'm not too sure.
And it's funny because as an attorney, as a woman with natural hair, they always equate the way your hair is, whether it's natural or not, with how professional you are. Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon. I don't wear a suit, so a lot of times they expect the attorney or the professional woman not to have the natural hair like ours. And I loved that this woman said, why are we still in 2020 talking about Black women and their hair? Why are we still talking about it?
Exactly. I mean, who are they to tell you what professional is? Like, what is the definition of professional to them? Again, like
Not our hair, Colleen. That's not
But-
that's
you know one thing I said that I'm never going to do again. This is not my first go around with locking my hair. I've locked my hair several times, and I sat down and I loosed it because like people's like, oh, you're going to a job interview and they might not hire you because your hair is this and your hair is that. And back then, like I'm not a big weave person and I'm not a big wig person. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just loose it out and I'm gonna just get it braided. But to hell with y'all. I'm gonna come with whatever when I take this, wrap off and I come to you with my paperwork that says I'm qualified to do this job. Take me as I am. Because again, I'm not coming to your job to do half the work. So why should I come half as me?
There you go. There you go.
Why you cannot accept the full Colleen for who Colleen is? Skin, hair,
and all of that. All of this.
All the fabulousness.
For those, Landy, what do you think about that one?
Well,
I know you're itching to say something.
I think that, okay, so you guys know that I'm always changing my hair. I'll go from a wig, I'll go to braids, I'll go to dreads, I'll go to natural, rough, like a wash and go, and then I'll straighten my hair. I really don't care. But I would like to know how many of the people who are concerned about this woman's hair, I would like to know what is the makeup of those people? Is it really white people or is it more black people?
I'm going to say both. Let me tell you, that is a good point, Landy. I remember a lot of people, I have experienced curiosity from white people about my hair. But I've had some sisters say, girl, you going to straighten your hair or what's going on? I really haven't. And it kind of hurts me a little bit. So I'm going to say it's probably both.
And you know what, Deanna, I can agree, but living here, it's not like those people in those higher spots are black people that's saying, hey, we need you to make sure that your hair is this way. So at the end of the day, it's just like, yeah, we have our black counterpart that's probably going to say, oh, you should straighten your hair or this and that. But at the end of the day, most of the people that we're working with is our white counterparts, and they are the ones who's basically saying, hey, this is not appropriate. And they have all these rules, especially when it comes to schools. You have like rules that's over 30 years old talking about you can't have certain locks and things like that. Yeah. And obviously those people were not really happy about black people or even integrating black people into those schools. So obviously they want to make sure those lives are hard. They want to make sure your life is hard. So they're going to put these rules in place so you can feel uncomfortable.
I love this. I love what Valerie says. Valerie says a black woman's hair should not define her. Right?
Agreed.
Again, like I am not my hair. Didn't India Arie say that? Like they're not listening to our black music and all. I am not my hair. And again, but our hair is a part of us. Okay. And one of the things I like about what she said is just like, how do you tell me, like how my natural hair comes out of my head? It's a problem. Like I don't control the texture.
Yeah.
I don't control how it looks. I don't control, what it does. It's just her natural hair. And I think she did a phenomenal job of addressing whoever she had to address, and she kept it moving. Because again, you're going to have no other choice but watch her when she's doing the news. And enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we drop the mic and we walk away. For those of you that are joining us, good afternoon, Dr. Z. Good afternoon, Mo Franklin. Good afternoon, Valerie Phillip, Peter Andrew. For those that are joining us, we're just discussing what's going on in our world. Valerie Phillip, we agree with you. They need to stop looking at the black woman's hair and see the intelligence that lies in her. And talk about intelligence. We have an intelligent, super Caribbean boss babe who is going to who's going to join us on the other side of our short break. Attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy. She can talk about hair. She can talk about politics. She can talk about debate. She can talk about being a mom. She can talk about all of that. And she's going to join us on the other side of this break. We have about 60 seconds. Ladies, you have anything else to add before we go for our quick break? I can't believe we're on. No, there's no way we're running on time. This is not normal. What's happening? You guys must be tired.
No. I can't wait to meet her.
Yeah,
I just want
yeah.
to shout out all my teachers out there and all my parents just holding it down through COVID. And for some of the parents who are choosing to send your kids out to school, kudos to you. I understand the struggle. I understand there are parents out there that has no choice but to go
But
out
to
and
do that.
work, and they have to send the kids out to school. But kudos out to you. Kudos to my teachers out there that are rocking, teachers that have to be in the classroom,
Absolutely.
that are just doing their thing. There's so much phenomenal ones out there. So I salute you guys.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Colleen will take us into our first break. Don't go
All
away.
right. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Do you emoji? I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Do you emoji? You should. Emoji, a brand new social media platform where you can social your way. With a simple and quick way to engage, meet new friends, and social the way you just love to. No annoying blocking or censorship. Check out emoji.com from your mobile or desktop PC. Emoji.com. Do you emoji? Well, you should. Log in now. Emoji.com. Do you emoji?
Emoji.com. Log in, sign up, and emoji.
All right, thank you everyone, and welcome back, and thank you for joining us. We're going to bring in attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, but we want to recognize, before I introduce the attorney Jean-Pierre Coy, we want to recognize today is the anniversary of when the United States invaded Grenada. For all my Grenadians that are on the call this afternoon, I know you probably know more about this than I do. Back in 1983, when then President Ronald Reagan authorized the military to invade Grenada. So all my Grenadians that are on that are watching with us today might recall, I was 8 years old. I was a child, but I do remember this happening vaguely. Like I remember what's happening. It felt like there was a war going on within the Caribbean. And so we want to acknowledge that today. So we're going to go ahead and bring in attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, and maybe she can help tell us a little bit about when, I know she probably doesn't remember the Ronald Reagan thing. She's shaking her head no. Most don't because it's been so long, but I think we always have to remember our history. Valerie Phillips said, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like it was yesterday. Lots of lives were lost. As you recall, I think the president of Grenada was murdered, and there were prisoners, and the theory as to why the United States went in was allegedly because there were American citizens living on the island of Grenada, and they were there to protect the lives of American citizens. Over the years, I've just thought it was just the fear of communism being spread in the Caribbean. It was one of those things where anybody or any Caribbean island that aligned themselves with communist, whether it's communism, whether it's Cuba or Russia, they were prone to be attacked. Prime Minister, not president. Thank you, Michelle. So that happened in 1983. How long ago? I was 8 years old. I'm now 45. That's how long ago this was. So we want to.
I was not there.
I want to acknowledge this today.
Yeah.
I was just doesn't remember it much in details. Mo Franklin says he remembered it very well. Let's go ahead and bring in attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy. She is a graduate of the Florida A&M University and Stetson University College of Law. First generation Haitian American, attorney and adjunct law professor. She lives in Tampa, Florida with her 3-year-old son. She has been the owner of Jean Pierre Coy PA since 2010. She focuses on criminal defense and personal injury cases. She also teaches trial advocacy at Stetson Law, and most recently she was awarded a bunch of awards here in the state of Florida. In 2017, Teresa was diagnosed with a rare form of breast cancer and is currently in treatment at Moffitt Cancer Center. Teresa, how are you? And thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I probably should have added to that, in addition to my 3-year-old son, my lovely husband of 11 years.
Travis, who is also an attorney here in the Tampa Bay area.
He is.
All right. So I'm just going to jump into this because I pulled an article about you, Teresa, and it said, racked with back pain, Tampa lawyer Teresa Jean Pierre Coy soldiered through jury selection in her client's federal drug trafficking conspiracy trial. After court that afternoon, the 39-year-old breast cancer survivor went back to Moffitt Center for CT scans. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you, Teresa.
Oh, wow. So that article kind of picks up in the, I would say, towards the later half of my journey. So as you mentioned earlier, and first of all, I'm not rude. Thank you again for having me on here. I do count it an honor. So thank you to all the hosts for having me here. But that article kind of picked up a little bit after when my breast cancer journey began in 2017. So I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer at the time. My son was 10 months old. I'll be honest with you. I thought I was going to die, that I was not going to see him, have his first birthday. I underwent chemotherapy, a left breast mastectomy, followed by radiation. And I was told that I was NED, which is considered no evidence of disease. But even still, I still went to Moffitt every month because the way my breast cancer worked, it really dealt with my hormones. So I was on kind of hormone therapy in hopes of not having the breast cancer return. Well, a few months before that article picked up, I started experiencing back pain. And I talked to several doctors about it. They thought maybe it was probably stress because I had, started going back to work full throttle. I had finished another major trial that happened that August that was highly publicized. So they thought it was probably a combination of that with stress. And so when I picked up on this trial, I had started that the first week in November. I had already had a MRI set for that first night of jury selection. I just couldn't get any. There was no way that I can get around it. So I, in federal court, we finished jury selection. I rushed to Moffitt Cancer Center, went ahead and had the imaging done. And then unfortunately, because I hadn't eaten all day because I was in trial, I got sick. And I started, throwing up because of the iodine. So I couldn't even go to trial the next day. So we had to pause the trial and go on Wednesday. Well, I think God kind of did that because on that Tuesday where we had that break, I got a call from my doctor, and he essentially had told me that the back pain that I was feeling was as a result of a back fracture. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm 9 years old. Like, how do I have a back fracture at 39? Mm-hmm. Well, it was the cancer that had returned and had eaten away at my bones. And so I was told that I would need to come in and talk to the doctor. That trial took me 2 weeks. And one of the first questions, I kind of asked was, is there anything you can do right this minute? If there's not, I'm going to finish this trial. And I did. So I went on, finished that trial, and 2 weeks later met with my doctors. We had a plan. I underwent a back surgery. I will tell you, November and December of 2019 is really a blur for me because I spent a lot of time in and out the hospital, excruciating pain, where regular prescribed medications didn't cut it. I needed IV type of pain medications. Ultimately had what's called a kyphoplasty procedure, where cement was placed in my back so that I can not have that pain. I was walking with a walker. I had a wheelchair. Wow. I will tell you, the woman you see before you now, if you would have saw me in November and December, it's just a completely different person. But by the grace of God, here I am being able to tell you about my journey.
So thank you. And for those of you that are joining us, we're talking to Teresa Jean Pierre Coy, breast cancer awareness, breast cancer survivor. So Teresa, last week we had Tracy who went to like a super extreme and she removed her breast, both breasts for that matter, after getting diagnosed with cancer. Tell us where you were when you got that first cancer diagnosis. That's Tracy up on the screen. So she had both her breasts removed.
Oh,
so tell us where you were when you got that first diagnosis, and tell us about like some of the decisions you've had to make, because I've followed your story and you've been very outspoken about those decisions that you've had to make as a woman, as a Caribbean woman. Tell us a little bit about that, Teresa.
So when I'm actually coming up on 3 years. So October 31st was Halloween. It was going to be my son's first Halloween. That's when I had my first appointment at Moffitt Cancer Center. I had done a biopsy, but the doctor, from looking at my breast and the way it presented, had essentially broke it to me at that point that it in fact was breast cancer. So prior to that, when I had a mammogram, I wasn't told specifically that I had breast cancer. I kind of had this back and forth with the radiologist where he was kind of playing, I like to say, like this word game where he was like, you don't feel pain, so it's not because we thought, my doctor and I before had thought that it was a milk gland that was stopped up because I had given birth earlier. And so he kind of went back and forth with me and said, if it was a milk gland, you'd be in pain. You're not in pain, so it's probably not. So it may be cancer. And of course, being an attorney, I want a direct answer. I'm like, so are you telling me it's cancer? And he's like, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you if you were in pain, it wouldn't. I said, okay. So at that point, I kind of had an idea based on the way the radiologist was talking. But October 31st was the day when the doctor told me. And I was frank with him. And I just wanted to know, how much longer do I have? And I've had to ask that question twice now, because when the cancer came back, because I'm pretty, just let me know. Like, do I have months? Do I have years? And what I loved about my doctor, my oncologist, is he was like, listen, I'm not God. I don't know. I've had people who I thought it would be a short period of time and they've been here longer than expected. I've had people that I didn't think it was going to be that long, and they passed away earlier than we expected. And I've had people who had cancer and ended up dying of something that wasn't even related to cancer. So I say all that to say I really don't know. And so I've kind of ridden with that. At this point, God is the author and finisher of this story. So I just kind of live every day as I can, enjoy my family, do as much as I can. And then, when the time is here, just make sure that I've done everything I need to do to see him on the other side. So
that's true. That's true.
I have a question for you. So you said that you're not having a solid answer, and being an attorney, you like things that are very straightforward. It's either yes or no, and no in between. Do you think that being told no answer as to how much time you have left has been more freeing for you in not being told that you have 6 months or a year or whatever? How does this make you feel, knowing in your profession you like things to be very concrete and straightforward?
I would agree with that. I think it is more freeing because you don't know, right? Because when you do know, you kind of know, like, okay, 3 months. Okay, so I need to do what I need to do, get my things in order, which I've still done, right? So I'm kind of like, I tell people when they ask me, I'm on the fence. So I'm kind of like, it could be any day. It could be 2 years. I don't know. All I could do is the best that I can do with the 24 hours that I have now. And, it just, and I hate this because it sounds so flippant, but it is what it is, right? And I'm not trying to say like, I'm just this strong person. No, but it really is what it is. People die every day, it just happens. So to answer your question, it is more freeing to me. So I just kind of just take it as it comes. I when things come, just a few weeks ago, I was told that the clinical trial I was on wasn't working because when I told you in November is when the cancer spread to my bones. So it started in the breast, spread to the bones in November 19. And then in July, right before my 40th birthday, I was told that it spread to my liver. So we've gone from breast to bones to liver now. And so I was put in a clinical trial, and then I was told that the clinical trial wasn't working. The one arm of it was not working, and that it continued to spread in my liver. So now I'm on a second part. So, I just kind of, I take it in, I hear it, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll try this second part and see what happens there, and we'll follow up with these CAT scans. And I can't worry until I need to worry, right? And even when it's time for me to worry, I kind of take that shock, and then I'm like, okay, we got to keep it moving, right? We just got to keep it moving.
That's true, because that can add added stress to your life, and you don't want that stress while you're dealing with battling cancer.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you a question. Like prior to your diagnosis, what was your life like?
Well, Deani could tell you, I was busy. And the funny thing is, even now, I stay busy. And my husband is just kind of tells me that's just you. You can't help it. Even when you think you need to, you literally have to hospitalize me to make me sit down. And even then, I'm still busy. Probably need to calm down. But, I was a business owner. I had a law practice. I have slowed down some. I shut my practice down. I still do have a few cases. I have a few trials coming up that I'm really looking forward to. But once those are done, right? But before the diagnosis, I had my own business. I've served as the president of our largest African American bar association in the area. I've done some work with the Florida Bar on the Solo and Small Firm Executive Council. I was members of In the Courts. I love volunteering. I do anything and everything, even just recently post everything. I just became a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I just add work onto my plate. I do the most sometimes, just the most.
That's okay. I'm the same way. Sometimes my husband says I have to slow down too. So, I
take that time. Yeah. And I do, right? I mean, when I need to rest, like I do, like there are moments I stay in the bed and I go to sleep. I get that rest. But when I'm up, I'm up.
Yeah.
Teresa, what would you say to Caribbean women that are watching? What would you say to us about this journey? Because in the Caribbean, and you know this, when you hear cancer, it's like whispered, like, I have cancer. It's not something that we're having this candid conversation about. What are some things that you would say to women in general, but I want to hear you speaking to our Caribbean women that are watching today. What are some things that you would say to them?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I think, and it is hush hush, right? It is this, I have cancer, or not telling people what's going on. But let me tell you, I mean, especially with breast cancer in the African American community, Black women are at a higher rate of getting contracting this disease. And a lot of times it's hereditary. And so with me, when I was going through my journey, a lot of things that they asked me were, tell me about your family history. Tell me about, who's had that. Have you had women on your mom's side, on your dad's side? If you don't have people who are talking about it, you just never know. So I have a cousin who was diagnosed on my mom's side. My first cousin, she was diagnosed a few years ago, but we knew about it. But then I have another cousin on my dad's side that I just hear about it. And nobody has ever said that she said anything, but I kind of just hear the whispers. I would love to ask questions, but she doesn't talk about it. But these are the kinds of things that doctors need to know. And that goes into the research. That goes into trying to break up the disparity of this disease, especially in African American women, in Caribbean women, Black women in general. So, you have to understand, I mean, cancer can happen to anybody, anybody, whoever. There's nothing, sometimes it's hereditary, sometimes it's not, but they're still trying to find out more about it. But I would think the number one thing is to be open. I mean, people need this information. They need to know the signs to look for, and not feel like something to be ashamed of. I mean, because I'm not ashamed. I mean, I didn't do anything. I didn't bring it on myself. It's just, unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. But I think being more open and sharing, which is why I share so much, because you never know who it may impact. I might not, somebody else might not receive what I say, but maybe somebody else will. So I just think it's important that people, share, especially Black women. Like, it's not something you need to suffer in silence. And I would tell you, since I have shared just the love and support that I've received, I remember going into getting chemo, and my husband was with me, and one of the nurses asked me, and she said to me, I'm so glad to see your husband here. And I was like, Okay, like where else would he be? She said, you would be surprised how many women are married and their spouses don't come and support them, or they don't have any type of support system or anybody to come in here to be with them. So sharing opens up that support system for you. And I would tell you, I have been blessed in the Tampa Bay area with, I don't know if there's such a thing as too much support. I got it. I got it. So.
All right. And if anyone wants to ask Teresa a question, and before I throw it over to Khalid, let me just ask you this question. Kelly Charles Collins says, Teresa, for your first diagnosis, did you have symptoms? I know that IBC oftentimes show up differently.
That is a great question, Kelly. And hello, Kelly. I love Kelly. So inflammatory breast cancer is what IBC stands for, which—
Thank you, because I didn't know what it was. But I was just making it. I didn't know what it meant.
So it's inflammatory breast cancer. So it's an aggressive form of breast cancer. And when it shows up, it starts off at stage 3. So, you know how, I don't know if most people know, breast cancer, cancer in general comes up in stages. Stages 1 through stage 4. Inflammatory breast cancer, or IBC, automatically starts out at stage 3. And the presentation of it is much different. So a lot of times people think, you know, feel your breast and feel the lumps. There are no lumps when it comes to IBC. So the way my symptoms showed up is I had my left breast was bigger than the other. It was reddish. So it didn't feel any, well, let me not say feel, because I did feel, they call it in medical terms, they call it peau d'orange, which in French means orange peel. So it kind of had like an orange peely feel to it, like an orange. Like when you feel an orange, it felt that way. It was bigger than the other. And the biggest thing was my nipple was inverted. So my nipple was going inside, meaning like it wasn't poking out, it was poking inside. And so, as I said before, I had a baby in January of 2017, and I had started to try to breastfeed him, and it just was not working out. So God bless the women who breastfeed, but it was not working out for me. And so what I thought in my mind was that it was because of me abruptly stopping to breastfeed. So, you know, because when you stop breastfeeding abruptly like that, you still get, your breast becomes engorged. And so I thought for all this time that it had more to do with my stopping the breastfeeding than anything, until my husband said, and it kind of progressed a little. So by the time I went to the doctor and then they looked at it, they said, no, this is inflammatory breast cancer. And again, it's one of those things that, because it presents at stage 3 already, it's not you can catch it early type thing. It's like when it's inflammatory, it's aggressive, it's coming quick. And so those were the symptoms. So peau d'orange, the feeling around the breast, one was bigger, swollen than the other, and my nipple was inverted on the inside, not poking out normally, but kind of turned inwards. So thanks for that question, Kelly.
Yeah.
I have a question, Teresa, and awesome to meet you, and hearing your story is just, again, it always, you know, reminds you of, you know, just being humble and thankful for every day. As you say, work within the 24 hours you have. I know at the beginning you talked about, you know, being fearful because you thought you were going to die, and you thought about your son. What are some of the other fears as a parent you had in terms of, you know, I'm thinking, well, wow, I have this beautiful bundle of joy that I want to enjoy for the rest of my life. And then here you have this challenge knocking on your front door, threatening, you know, your ability to be the best parent. So what are some of the challenges you went through in terms of parenting, and what were some of your fears that you had?
Thank you for that question. I will tell you, my number one fear has been my son. You know, of course, I love my family. I love my husband. But the way I look at it is they're adults, right? Like they can handle it. They would be able to handle it. But I think about my baby boy, and I just, you know, just the thought of him growing up without a mother. I mean, so that obviously has been my main concern. So I find myself looking at him a little bit longer. letting things go that I probably wouldn't, watching him sleep all the time. He probably thinks I'm a stalker if he could watch me. I find myself giving in probably more than I already would be as the, a mom of a little boy. And, I also did some practical things. So I'll be honest, one of the things I did this past January was I got a will done. I know I'm an attorney and you probably think, well, you should have had a will already. No, I didn't. I didn't have a will. I had a will. I created a trust for my son so that at certain points and times in his life that he'll have money for certain things. I started thinking ahead that if he's in this life without me, that he is financially taken care of as well as my husband. So obviously those practical things on the end. But I mean, those were some of the practical things that I did. But, the thoughts always creep up, because sometimes I'll get into a down moment and say, oh my God, it could be next week. It could be tomorrow. And then I come back and say, Teresa, you don't got time for that. You just don't have time for that. So, so it's tough. I will tell you, it is tough. And it's kind of like being on a seesaw. You got some good days, but you're like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And then you got some bad days and you're just like, woe is me. And then when I get into the woe is me, I'm like, okay, Teresa, come on, jump back out of it. You got stuff to do. So it's tough, especially as a mom. I mean, who wants to even have to think of that, right? So it's emotional. It is definitely emotional.
Well, he's lucky to have you. Absolutely.
Thank you. He is so sweet too. And Kelly and Deani both know him. They've been around him. They knew when I was pregnant with him, I'd bring him to events and everything. So he's known around the Tampa Bay area. People ask more about him than they do about me.
Than you.
Daddy is our bar baby. I mean,
they don't even ask about me anymore. They're like, where's Thaddeus? Where's Thaddeus?
I know, Landy, you work as a nurse. Landy, yes. So what does this seem familiar to you? Anything you want to ask Teresa?
Well, I did have a question lined up for you, but you generally answered it. And one of the things that struck me, what you said is, this is not from the nursing side, but the importance of having certain things set aside, like your will, making sure that these things are in order, your trust funds. I think this is something that a lot of people seem to neglect because, in nursing, one of the questions that we always ask everybody, do you have a healthcare proxy? Do you have advanced directives set up? Do you have these things in order? And I ask these questions all the time, but I'm ashamed to say that I don't have advanced directives set up. A will is something that I've thought of. Healthcare proxy, definitely, especially since, during this pandemic and knowing that, Black people in general, Black people of a certain age are more at risk for dying of COVID. Now it's made me more hyper alert of how important it is to have these things in place and how it can make your life easier. It can give you a sense of, with all the craziness, at least that certain things are worked out. So I think that's an important point to bring home, the importance of having those documents in order so that at least you have that safety net set up for the people that you love.
And one
go ahead, Teresa. No, you go ahead.
When I was talk about, the healthcare proxy and things like that. So, I had a situation a few years ago with my husband when she passed away and he was the only child and they were asking him to make decisions. And those were conversations that he didn't have with his mom. And I would tell you the agony that he went through in having to make those decisions. So that was one of the things that I've spoken to him about. You're not going to have to make those decisions. I will not put you in that position where you are wondering, is this something that Teresa would have wanted or if it's not? So, I could be hospitalized at any point in time. If it gets to the point where, I'm not able to be resuscitated or whatever it may be, that's something he doesn't need to worry about. I've made those decisions. So, because I know my mama, oh Lord, it's just best that I make those decisions because I don't know what she would do. And if y'all know, I don't know if you know about in Florida, years ago, there was the Terri Schiavo case that it went on with the parents, the parents of Terri Schiavo and her husband. I mean, it stretched on forever. And I was just, that will not be me because my mama would be the one who would be the dramatic one, keeping me here. And it's over. So those decisions are.
For the benefit of our audience, and I know we're going long, but I think we need to do this for the benefit of our audience that is primarily Caribbean and they're listening. What are 3 things that they could do to put some things in place? I know you and Landy touched on the healthcare. I was over here madly taking notes because the only thing I've thought about is a will. That's the only thing I'm like, okay, I have a will, but there's healthcare proxy, advanced directive. These are. I'm an attorney and I'm ashamed to say I have none of this in place. I have a will and that's it. For those of you that are joining us, Spice Baffy, welcome. Kelly Charles Collins, welcome. And then we're going to ask this, I think might be our last question, Teresa, but we're going to ask you to stay on through the end of the show. What are those things that you and Landy are talking about?
So, I mean, Landy can probably explain a little bit more because I'll be honest, I'm a lawyer, but I don't know. I don't do wills. I went to an attorney who did them, but, for me, if I get into a situation where the doctors come to my family and tell me, that there's nothing else that they can do to help me, do I want to be kept on, machines, or do I want them to, go ahead? I don't know how to say it in a nice way, pull the plug. I've made those decisions ahead of time that if certain things occur at that point, this is what needs to happen. So I believe that's the advanced directive. If I'm correct. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. The advanced directives give specific responses to, like, if you needed to be on tube feeding for life, if you needed to be kept on a respirator, if you needed any type of life-sustaining treatments. Do you want them or do you not want them? And you have the opportunity to write this all down ahead of time. You can have it signed by yourself. It'd be good to have it signed off by an attorney so that they know that this is a legal document that you want to follow. And there's also a do not resuscitate order, which basically says that if your heart stops beating, you don't want 911 to come for you. You want to just be able to go. So knowing these things ahead of time can make life so much easier. Like Teresa said, that it would be agonizing with all the other things that you have to worry about, to have to think about, should I keep her alive for 6 more months or should I let her go now? You don't have to go through all of that. You can make life so much easier by laying these things out earlier. And you don't necessarily have to wait until you're critically ill to do this. It's whenever you feel that you really want to protect your life and you want to make sure that things are easier for the people that you love. They don't have to make these tough decisions. Lay them out earlier. And this is for anybody. Even if you don't have an attorney to sign off on the documentation, just at least having it written out and giving it to a loved one so that they know that in the event that these things happen, it could be handwritten. This is what I want. You stated what you want while you were self-directing and able to make decisions for yourself.
And the thing about it, also, you might have a power of attorney. Like I have, power of attorneys. If for a period in time I'm unable to do certain things, then I can give power over to somebody else. And it's good to have these things ahead of time, right? Because anything can happen. I know we're talking about me with cancer. Like I know it's cancer. I know things can happen, but a car accident can happen any day. Right. I mean, I just had a friend of mine from church. She just got shot and she died beforehand. Oh, wow. And not to sound like maybe because I'm always thinking about death, like it can happen anytime, whenever time. I mean, not to be morbid, but it's true. I mean, young people die just as old people die. You just never know. So if you can get these things and put them in place, it's beneficial. I've been in situations where family members are fighting, or people are talking about, well, what are we going to do with this? And again, and Deani, don't feel bad about not having those things. I didn't get it until the second time. You would have thought I would have had it when I was first diagnosed. No, I did it after, when it got to stage 4. And so, but I just say it's time. And I will say it took me a minute. I know these sound like, just answer the question and that's it. But I had to think. I had to really think and get into myself. And like, is this, what would I want? Because these are serious, serious questions, right? Like, this isn't just, what shirt am I putting on today? You have to really think about it, pray about it. And sometimes you might change. If I wanted to, I can go back and change certain things right now. But you don't want to wait until the time comes and you can't do it. So.
Thank you, Teresa.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Teresa, for being open with us and open with our audience and just giving that green light for us to hear your story and see or at least have an idea of your journey through this process. And we are definitely appreciative that you are here and you are well, you're a survivor, and we get to represent you for the month of October. We definitely enjoyed having your presence on. But don't go anywhere.
Don't stay with us. Stay with us.
I will. I love it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
And I just want the audience just to know that breast cancer is the main cause of death in the Caribbean. And it's very important to know your body and also try to do some self-examinations. And if you don't know how to do those self-examinations, I did learn that you just take your fingers, and especially don't do it around your menstrual, because most of the times you get those lumps anyways when you have your menstrual. Do it around when you're awake. I would say just wait a week be after your menstrual, and also going towards your menstrual. Sometimes you'll have these little lumps too, but also just use your fingers and go around your breast to feel the tissue, and also next to your armpit, because breast tissue also is next to your armpit as well, and just feel while you're in the shower, really quick.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know, Lindy, you wanted to talk about building generational wealth and how important that is, especially, when a diagnosis like this could probably wipe out a family's earnings. So we're going to touch on that briefly, and then we're going to wrap up for this week. But Teresa is going to stay around with us.
Good. All right. So I came across this great article. I think it was on Facebook. No, it was in Black Enterprise. And basically this father, his name is Ashanti Shabazz. So he bought his 13-year-old daughter a brand new house. And his idea is that he believes that he wants his daughter to grow up. And by the time she is an adult, hopefully she would have added at least another property to her name. The goal is to create generational wealth, which is something that's many people don't know about, or because of systemic racism and the things that have been put in place to keep Black people from not making this leap to having these things that a lot of white people have. He's trying to not have that happen to his family, because he wants his daughters and his children to have the opportunities to not just spend all of their working lives, or you spend all this time from 3 to maybe 24 years old in school, and then you spend the next 25, 30 years working and working and working and working, and then you stop working at 60, 65, and then it's retirement time, and you've spent the best years of your life doing all of this work for other people. So his thing is that it's important to create generational wealth so that each generation can start at a better place. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that, instead of thinking about, the next best car, why not buy that house? Because there's a lot of real estate out there that could be very affordable. And one thing that I do know about real estate, it's a sure way to win. The stock market goes up and down, it goes sideways, it goes all over the place. At least when you invest in real estate, if you take good care of it, eventually it will rise. And I've seen a lot of that. Living here in New York, when I moved here in 2000, Harlem, for example, Harlem was a place that you didn't even want to go. You didn't want to go above 110th Street, okay, because it was just horrible. Now Harlem is like it's just been transformed, and the real estate out there is so expensive. Back then, everything was broken down. It was a place that you didn't want to walk through. Things can change, and real estate always grows. So I really do think that generational, real estate is a good way to create that for your families.
Thank you, Landy. And we're going to take this opportunity to say build generational wealth. And we're going to also now recognize as our Caribbean Boss Babe of the week, none other than attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy. I met this woman, I want to say maybe 10, 11 years ago. And when she walks into the room, she walks in with her most authentic, unapologetic self. So I met Teresa prior to breast cancer, and she hasn't changed. She has gotten busier, if anything. And you know, as a Caribbean woman, as a Black woman, when another Black woman walks into the room, you acknowledge. Teresa acknowledged, and you know, her accolades are tremendous. But that's not what makes her a Caribbean boss babe. It's because she has all those traits: confidence. She balances life really well. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's an attorney. And I am giving her credit because she litigated one of, I think, Florida's most high profile cases when she boldly stepped up to the plate and represented, and if I have any Florida attorneys in the room, they'll tell you she represented the other side. She represented, in a case involving a black man that was shot dead, she represented the white counterpart, and she did so zealously as an attorney. And I've always respected her, but I respected her twice as much when I see all the things that she has done with her career. And today, Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, I want to thank you for being on the show, and you are our Caribbean boss babe. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. It's 6 p.m. Let's put all the ladies back on the screen as we're going to dance it out. And thank you so much. Thank you, Teresa, for joining us. Victoria, Colleen, and Cleopatra said, you see that in her even when she presents herself. Yes, this woman is no joke. She's a sweetie patootie. So thank you for joining us. And let's dance it out, ladies. It's another week on Top 5.
To my Grenadian people out there.
To my Jamaican people.
Got some good news for you. Looking for a passionate immigration lawyer with experience that spans over 2 decades? Someone trusted that served immigrant families just like yours? Well, look no more. Now you can benefit from her personal and professional experience. Diane Winter Funde. Schedule a consultation now and get assistance with your immigration journey. Specialize in adjustment of status, B1 business visa, B2 visitors visa, consular processing, deportation defense, naturalization, and more. Give us a call today at 813-815-3529. That's 813-815-3529 or online at winterimmigration.com. Attorney Diane Winter Funde, law done differently.